What about copyright and ownership regulations when using Canva? What do I have to know when using Canva in order to create designs? This is a very, very important topic, and this is why we are talking about it right now. Before we will directly deep dive into this annoying but important topic, I have to make one important announcement. I'm not a professional. I'm also not a lawyer, which means that this video cannot be seen as some kind of professional overview or legal binding overview. I would highly recommend you to take a look at this document as well as this document, so the Canvas Content License Agreement, on your own. There might be future updates. There might be changes so that the topics I try to explain in this video can be outdated. I try to keep this course updated, but I'm basically not able to identify small changes. So, to make it very easy, please pay attention right now, but please take a look at it on your own as well and check whether there are any changes. And if I say something wrong, please correct me, for example, in the question and answer section. Okay, now let's deep dive into these two documents. I've, of course, read these documents several times, and this is why I can totally understand why someone does not have a lot of fun, so to say, reading these documents. So I would suggest for this video, we try to make this theoretical content as simple and as appealing as possible. But you have to promise me that you will read it by yourself again. We will do a little bit of fun instead. We will use ChatGPT in a very helpful way. We are saying, or we are writing down as a prompt, in a very short way, sum up the most important information. The question is, what I am allowed to do, or what am I allowed? Just give me a second, perfect. What am I allowed to do with the designs in Canva? Here is the source. And afterwards, I pasted the link to this website. And by creating a helpful result, hopefully, I also try to add some more information. But let's start with the information provided by ChatGPT, which is also no guarantee that these information are correct. When using designs created in Canva, it is important to understand the permissions and restrictions outlined in their content license agreement. There's still a difference between using Canva to create different designs that you're not going to share with anyone, and on the other hand, creating designs that you want to publish on social media, for example, on Instagram, for example, or that you try to sell. So this is a very huge difference, and we will talk about both cases. What you can do, use in personal and commercial projects. You can incorporate Canvas content into your designs for various purposes. including marketing materials, social media posts, and merchandise like mugs or t-shirts. So, the first good news are that we can use Canva not only for personal projects, but also for commercial projects. And yes, even with the free version of Canva, you are allowed to do commercial projects. So there is, at this point, no need to subscribe to Canva Pro just because you want to publish your designs. You're even allowed to use designs, that combine Canva elements with your own original content, and that can be sold. Which means when creating a design or when using a template, you have to make some changes, but then you're even allowed to publish or to sell these designs. So you're not only able or allowed to publish it, for example on social media as a design, but you're even allowed to sell your templates on a web shop, for example, or in a web shop. And the third aspect is very specific and we won't talk about it right now. What you cannot do, you cannot sell or share Canva's content on its own without incorporating it into a unique design. So, you're not allowed to use a template without any changes. You have to make changes. You have to change the text element, maybe some graphics, maybe the photos, the font, the size, whatsoever. If you want to sell it, make changes. If you want to publish it, make changes. And this is one additional information by myself to give you some help. There is a rule, an unwritten rule that says everything that you can access on a legal basis with your specific plan, so free or paid, so pro, can be used when you pay attention to these points. If you want to use, for example, templates or elements that are only available for pro users, then you have to buy either a single license for this specific element, we will talk about in the future, or you have to subscribe to the paid version. And now let's come back to this document, because there's one more interesting question, especially nowadays. What about AI tools? AI tools are also an important part of this course. And yes, we will talk about different AI tools. We will use different AI tools. Do I own the images I generate? And this is a very, very complicated topic. There is no real answer because it depends on different aspects. Between you and Canva, to the extent permitted by law, you own the images you create with Magic Media, for example. So Canva basically says, hey, the images you generate with Magic Media, for example, are yours. However, it is very important to check the legal aspect. And this is something where no real answer is right now. Currently, many jurisdictions don't give copyright protection to AI created works. And this is something you have to check by yourself. What is the legal aspect or the legal conclusion right now? Do you want or are you allowed to use AI generated work? Do you have to write down that this is AI generated, which is some kind of rule that you have, for example, in the European Union, or which should be there in the future? So this is something that you have to check on your own. Be up to date, but at the end of the day, pay attention to it. But this is all you should know.